What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. What is it, 6:30 in the morning? Been up for a couple hours working on a few things, but today I want to talk a little bit about persuasion, how it works, and some better approaches you could probably take when, getting people to work with you. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? My name is Scott King. I run a DJ company over here in Orlando, Florida, and I have multiple people that work for me. And with Coach Scott King, I teach people how I was able to grow my business and have exponential growth. I've had six-figure growth for a few years, and my knowledge comes from hypnosis, NLP, internet marketers, and an array of other things. And if you're looking to level up your business, or maybe you're just starting out, I have a bunch of modules online, www.coachscottking.com. Now, today, I want to talk about something that happened recently, and I just wanted to get into it a little bit. So, again, because we work in a right-to-work state, Florida, the DJs can basically work for whatever company that they want to work for. So, I had something happen recently where, let's kind of rewind back a little bit, about, I don't know, now 10 years. So basically when I was, building up people around me, I would make resumes for people and push them out to other people that had companies and other people that had opportunities. And I would train people, do all their promo, and then present that to another company that had work. So what had happened was there was another company and they needed a DJ to fill their gig, and I kept presenting one person and another person and another person, and then finally the business owner was, stuck. They needed somebody to fill a gig, and then finally they decided to use somebody that I had been pushing for a very long time. When I say long, I don't know, 3-6 months, maybe a year, before they decided to, actually pull the trigger and check out somebody that I had trained. So over the years, this person became really good at what they do, and they became number one at their company. So there's a few dynamics to work with. Maybe at that time I was working for other talent agencies and still learning the game and understanding how things work between talent agencies and the talent that you send out. And between hypnosis and internet marketers, I've learned the power of persuasion. And basically, it's not like manipulation, getting win-wins for everyone so that everyone's happy and still being able to grow at the same time. Now, that may sound like a lot to juggle, yet once you understand the principles and how things work and, how to walk into a situation, things will work out way better for you if you follow some of the steps that I have for you. And I have a whole training online for you guys to check out. Let me explain the situation of what happened. So the other business owner, he sends a text message to one of the DJs that I promote, got him in there and, became valuable, and he wanted him to DJ an event for him. So he had called me first, and he was like, hey man, this other company wants to use me. I know I use them a lot and I work with them a lot, but what do you think on your end? He was asking me because this other person, which the DJ, right, is also really big in my company. He's like one of my number one guys. So I send him out quite a bit. And then throughout the years, of course, the whole goal, the structure is to give somebody a raise. And at what point does that tap out? Because there's only so much money you can give somebody, because there's only so much money a client's going to pay. And then with my plan and structure and business formula, this guy's been making progressively better money throughout the years, and the people that work with me, it raises as much as I can, because again, the market only allows you to charge so much depending on what market you're in. So anyway, the guy calls me up and he says, hey man, company X wants to use me. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. And then he goes, well, how much do you want to make on top of it? Because again, there's loyalty to loyalty. Like, this guy wouldn't have this opportunity unless I, pushed him through the door. So now every time he works for this other company, it's technically my client, because I made that happen for him. And that's an agreement that we have from the beginning. So he calls me up and he says, well, how much do you want to make on top of that? And we did some numbers, and we actually did a lot of like realization, and it meant a lot to me that he called me first. And then he also had told me that, because he's so busy with me, and this guy also has a regular day job as well, that he didn't want to go out unless it was enough for him to want to go out. So basically he'd have to make a good amount of money to take time away from his personal life, because it's pretty stressful during the week. And if he's going to go out, he'd like to make the right kind of money, especially if he's been in the business and been DJing 10 plus years. I don't even know how long anymore. So again, he calls me up and tells me about this situation. And I'm like, well, definitely if you want to take the gig, let's go ahead and do that. And then, well, there's a bunch of math to do as well, because if you're taking away availability from me, and I'm probably going to send you out anyway, then how does that work out, in everybody's best interest? And that's what I was basically understanding. So anyway, we did a little bit of talking, and if you want to know more about that story, come join the Facebook group and ask questions. There's a couple different moving parts to understand as well. But anyway, he calls up Company X, and the way the transaction went down was kind of interesting. And what, we had drinks later and talked about it a little bit, and he brought me back to some of the things that my talent agency, the Narcissist, said that I didn't quite like as well. And for Company X to say these types of things kind of threw me off guard, and it's not something I would expect this other person to say. So what were those things that he said, right? Like, the first thing was, he started with flattery. Like, oh, I want you to work this gig, and you're always my top choice, and it's really important, for my company growth, for you to go out and do a gig for me. So basically, it's like shaming somebody. Well, you're my top choice, so how come you're not available for me? That kind of thing. And this will play on your emotions if you're not stable in who you are as a person, or what your goals are, or what you're doing. And then you'll feel indebted to another person who gave you work, like a talent agency. And at the same time, the talent agent needs to fill the shift no matter what, because it's the contract that's signed. So that was kind of like a weird situation to deal with, and kind of awkward to start out with. And the second thing that Company X was talking about was, the first thing they started with, oh, you're my first choice. And then the second thing that happened after the person said, well, I want X amount of dollars, or I don't really want to do this gig. And the second thing the person said was, well, I actually had somebody else on this gig, yet the client, probably saw the picture of them or worked with them in the past and said, oh, they want you. So that kind of negates, like, the first thing this Company X said was, oh, you're always my first choice. And then the second thing was, well, I actually had somebody else on it. Well, wait a minute. Am I your first choice, or am I second or third choice? Or you only have to choose me because the client decided they want me? So, we have a little bit of rapport and a long-term business relationship, so it gets a little confusing when you put these 2 points together. And this is, I don't know, it could be like mind games, or maybe they didn't have their case established before they went into the conversation. And then on top of that, the next thing that was presented after those two things failed was that you should take all opportunities that come to you, because you won't be able to get another gig if something happens, right? So the scarcity mindset was placed. It's like, if you don't take this gig, somebody else will do it, and then you won't get any future gigs moving forward. And that's a way to try and pull somebody's strings to make them feel bad. And let's just say none of that stuff worked, again, because DJ called me up and was like, oh, how would you handle this situation? Because he understands that I've taken all these different classes, to get win-wins for everyone. And we had kind of worked out a couple different scenarios. So when he went into the conversation, I don't know, it was like he had full guns loaded, like, like, which way do you want to go? And it wasn't like he was firing shots. It was more like, well, I can direct this conversation however I see fit, because I have, multiple avenues of whatever way that I want to go. So again, top three things, fail was, you're my first choice, and I had somebody else, but the client wanted you. And number three is, those two things didn't work. Let's go with, well, you should take every gig that comes to you. And then again, we have another module, the NLP Essentials class. And make sure to check that out as well on the website, where it uses the meta model. And when somebody uses the word should, and if you don't understand what the meta model is, it's super mind blowing. But anyway, the person used the word should, and that's not something that you'd want to take in mind, right? So somebody says you should do something, that's them placing their map of the world onto you. And then if you follow that map of the world, they'll come back to you and be like, well, you told me I should have did this. Well, don't look at me. I'm not the one who made those moves. So those are some different dynamics to think about. And if this is something that you're going through, I could definitely walk you down different paths so that you can open up that map and have more opportunities available for you. And just because this other person believes that you should take every single gig that comes your way, that doesn't mean every single gig is like a good gig to take, right? Like, it could be low pay, it could be out in the rain. What if you do all these things and it leads nowhere? Or if you've been with this other company for I don't know how many years and you're not getting any raises, why should you keep doing the same thing? And these are different things to think about as well. So what would have been a better approach? Now that we've, kind of explained the situation, and leave a comment below. Yet I would have handled this completely differently. So let's just say I had a gig and this other guy was chosen, and I would have first, sent a text message, hey man, when's a good time to talk? And then he would call back because, he's a respectable individual, or at least schedule a good time to talk. And with that in mind, you would first find out the person in front of you, find out their map of the world, like how they operate, because that's empathy. If you just start telling somebody you do this, do this, do this, do this, they're going to be like, well, that doesn't work for me. And then weak-minded people will, and that's how narcissists get all these, fan base around them, because they're just weak-minded people being led down a path that they think somebody else has made better decisions for them than they're making for themselves. So again, the first thing would have been like, hey man, when's a good time to talk? I have this situation. So of course they would have found a good time to talk. And then before you get into what you actually need, you find out where this other person's at. And then, well, let's talk about the three things that were said. You're my first choice. Well, that's flattery. And then it ended up backfiring because that was kind of a lie, because somebody else was on the gig. So once you get somebody on the phone, be like, hey man, I have this situation. I would like you to do this gig, and well, what's it going to take for that to happen? Or what? And then the person's going to come back with, maybe they have high demands, right? And then, well, okay, let me see how I can meet those demands. And maybe you can, at least meet them there, or get them to come down a little bit. And then that's being a win-win situation for both, right? So, I want this. Well, okay, well, maybe I can't do that at this moment. I could do this. And then how about next time we get closer to this, or meet at this, and 100% the DJ would have done that. 100%. It would have totally happened. And that's not what happened. He actually turned down the gig because, well, of these three things. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing a sales call, or whenever you're talking to your team. They have their own universe that they're living in, and you want to kind of meet them where they're at, and then guide to a better path, one that works for both of you guys. And as a DJ company, right? Like, of course, as a business owner, you want to get as many gigs as you can, because that will just flourish into more gigs, especially if you're doing a good job. So, and then he wouldn't have reached out to this guy if he didn't think he could do a good job, right? Because back in the day, he didn't want to use him at all. And then I was like, no, he's good. Here's a press kit promo, use him. And then he started using him, getting all these great reviews, understanding that, that this guy could do the job. So with that, you also can't grow your business, right? Unless you have more people around you. So me personally, this weekend, I ended up putting my guys to go do gigs, and I was like, if another gig comes along, I'll go ahead and take that one. But at least my team is out. At least I have, loyalty to them, right? Because everybody's got to eat, right? They got to pay their bills, and then I'll have some time off. Maybe I could work on another project. Maybe I could spend some time with my daughter. Maybe I could just take a weekend and go crazy somewhere. And with that in mind, if you're using the same type of language patterns with people, it's only going to work on certain types of people, and it's only going to work for so long before somebody else actually understands what's going on and then realizes that doesn't work for them. So again, if you want to learn more about emotional intelligence, more about understanding how to work win-win situations and how to get out of sticky situations, or even stack up a better storyline so that you could get more of the results that you're looking for, then make sure to visit the website www.coachscottking.com. Thanks.